Hello and welcome to another episode of the USTM podcast. I'm your host Shabnam Saikia. Today we have with us a very special guest, Dr. Buhril from the Business Administration Department. Dr. Buhril has extensive knowledge and experience in business management and leadership. And today we are going to delve into a fascinating topic, the dynamics of the supervisor and subordinate relationship. Welcome to the show, Dr. Buhril.
Thank you.
Let's dive straight to the discussion. To start with, Dr. Buhril, could you help us to define and understand the term supervisor and subordinate relationship? How should we interpret this relationship in a professional setting?
To understand, to define the dynamics of supervisor-subordinate relationship, this one is a supervisor-subordinate relationship, not a subordinate superior relationship, not as superior inferior relationship. At any given stage of one's career, the relationship between the supervisor and the subordinate will revolve around two needs. The task needs, which mostly we can understand it as a work-related needs, and then the personal needs. And these needs are such that, so crucial that this supervisor-subordinate relationship can be complementary, it can be shared, it can even be in conflict, and to the point that it not only profoundly affect the relationship of both these players, but it can affect the efficiency, the effectiveness, the performance, and then the productivity of the business organizations. Now, I believe it is quite timely to go back and examine, even explore where exactly are we presently now in this crucial area, a very strategic area. Or we can examine, is everything okay when it comes to this area, or can we manage this relationship in a much better way? And then we can say that most human relationships can go wrong. It go wrong when the expectations and the needs of both are not taken care. And in some cases, it goes right, it begins well. But later on, it peter out and a negative productivity emerges out without changing the relationship in itself. So, I believe in this manner, it is good to go back and examine these dynamics of supervisor-subordinate relationship.
That's very insightful. Now moving to the next question, what are the stages of supervisor and subordinate relationship? Could you explain those stages that typically occur in this dynamic?
Most certainly, yes. For the sake of convenience, the stages of a supervisor-subordinate relationship, I'll pick up 4 stages. First one could be the establishment stage. Second should be the advancement stage. Third could be the maintenance stage. And the fourth one should be the withdrawal stage. At all stages, we will find that the individual psychological adjustments, work responsibilities, personal relationship and needs will be changing. And the first one which we speak of, that one is the establishment stage. This is a stage where the beginning of one's career. And we find this is a period of great uncertainty where the individual could be the supervisor, could be even the subordinate, started questioning his own competence and perhaps even the performance potential that he has. And not only that, this is a time from the very beginning itself where support, help is required. In fact, some of the smart organizations, very intelligent organizations, go for activating a mentor experience at least in this. They bring in straight away at this establishment stage itself. The second one that we discuss, this one is advancement stage, a period of commitment to work, and this is where I believe the guidance and then the exposure that both of them required need to be provided. And the third one, the maintenance stage, is a period of developing and helping subordinate to grow, they being the one who are less experienced and in most cases even younger in age and with lesser exposure. I believe this is an area where another crucial help will be required. And then coming down to the last stage, this is a period of sharing each other knowledge and experience, and this is an opportunity where we can enrich the relationship much further. Now, when we look at the whole thing, at all these stages, both the supervisor, subordinate will have their own dilemmas. Confusion will emerge here, and a lot of question asking will be coming. They will have their own concerns, they will have their own needs. But the saving grace here is that challenge also will be huge, and really like dynamo that can be explosive. I think the dynamics can really take over and go forward very progressively.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, speaking from the subordinate perspective, what could be the primary expectations or needs of a subordinate from their supervisor? What do they typically look for in terms of guidance, support, or management?
The expectations and needs of the subordinates from the supervisor can be broadly explained in two ways. One, work tasks, what we call it as work related task needs. Second one could be personal needs. Now the task need is all about accomplishing job responsibilities. One, it is about deciding what to be accomplished, what most people will call it the goals. Two, deciding how to accomplish that would be objectives. And third could be deciding how the progress will be measured. This is about the evaluation and then the feedback. Now, there are many areas relating to the work. There could be conflict areas, there could be areas of limited resources, there could be areas where flexibility is required, there could be areas where uncertainty comes in a very big manner, or could be areas where results have to be performed no matter the price to be paid. And then the second segment, which we call it as the personal needs. The personal needs could arise from areas of concern relating to the self, relating to the career of the person, or maybe relating to the family itself. I think a lot of people like to debate on this work-life balance. I, for one, normally I'll agree with MIT professor Lottie Bind, who says they are all complementary. It's a part of one person, which means by in itself the balance have to be taken good care of. Now in the establishment stage that we talk of earlier, I believe the guidance are required, feedback are required, then role modeling will be required, and protection also will be required. And you don't know, maybe on the job training also may be required here in that first stage, the expectation and the needs. And then the advancement stage, I believe the acceptance, the confirmation, the exposure, perhaps counseling itself, and then the sponsorship, or even being given challenging work will be a part of the expectation of the subordinate from the supervisor. And then that third one, where we call it the maintenance stage. The maintenance stage would be the area where autonomy may need to come in, an opportunity to develop not only oneself but others may also have to creep in into this. And of course the last stage, of withdrawal stage, where we say, I think the subordinate itself need to be groomed on how to play that consultancy role for the sake of the business organization.
Interesting. Now switching perspective, what could be the primary expectations or needs of a supervisor from their subordinates? How do they complement each other in a successful relationship?
Relating to the expectations and the needs of the supervisor from the subordinate, I think let us understand that any relationship is an exchange. Any relationship will always involve a psychological support, and to a large extent a technical support there also. Now I'm trying to blend the career stage of both the person, either of the person, and align with the personal needs that they expect. The supervisor at the establishment stage will require technical support, will require even a psychological support. And the same supervisor at the advancement stage will expect and require, as his expectation, loyalty, trust, a feeling of brotherhood, or you can even call it feeling of sisterhood. And then at the maintenance stage, an opportunity to mentor the subordinate himself. The growth, the progress comes much faster when this process come into play, especially if the mentor and the mentee are trained as an ongoing process. And then that withdrawal stage, like I mentioned, both the parties, either of the supervisor-subordinate, have to start learning how to play the consultancy role. So as we can see the whole thing, the mutuality of the expectation and the needs goes hand in hand. They go parallel. And there are so much to benefit from the entire process if taken seriously and if sincerely both the parties involved wishes to make this temporal thing work for the betterment of the business organization.
Thank you for sharing that. It seems like supervisor and subordinate relationship could be viewed as a give and take process. Is that correct? Do you think both parties are constantly contributing and receiving from both sides?
Yes, absolutely and definitely. The supervisor-subordinate relationship indeed is a give and take process. It's an exchange, a two-way traffic, and this involves two individuals who are totally different. That's the beauty of the relationship. And each of these are in a particular career stage. And each of these involve an extremely challenging situations, what I'll call it as psychological adjustments. As a good fit, the relationship could click beautifully, resulting from the need of both if taken care, and they are indeed very complementary. Or it could be a mismatch, a bad fit, when their needs are fully in conflict. A relationship can be of this nature, of this magnitude, can be productive and very effective when it responds to the individual's personal needs. So as we talk of professional needs, I believe prefixing the professional needs, the personal needs are to be taken care, and that may even affect the gamut of or areas that are totally outside of the purview of the operating workplace. And in like manner, it becomes very troublesome, the relationship between supervisor and subordinate, when it is unresponsive, simply not responding to the needs of both or either of the party.
That's a very balanced way to look at it. But what about when things go wrong? In your experience, Dr. Buhril, when does this relationship fails? Are there any common pitfalls or warning signs that we should be aware of?
When can this relationship fail? Should be a very good question to answer to. I'll try to make a simple and a sincere attempt here. When can the relationship go wrong? When can it fail? One, the relationship can fail. Definitely it will fail. Has failed, or it will fail when the relationship does not result in a mutually satisfying exchange. One. Two, the relationship will fail when personal and organization factors, and there are so many variables that can contribute to add to the negativity of the relationship. When too many variables, researchers will call it intervening variables, creep in, it can fail. So which means the alertness has to be very, very strong. And not only the alertness have to be strong, let me make an attempt. If when it fails, should it fail, how do we bring back the relationship back on the track? Back on track once it go off track. When it derail, how do we bring this situation in a much more better situation? One, both the supervisor and the subordinate need to sit together and redefine their goals. Two, both the supervisor and subordinate must determine what they really need. And three, they must go and cultivate their relationship in a fresh manner, with all the experience that they have between themselves. Come out afresh, renewed, and move into a new direction together. And three, I believe this is the third one that we mentioned, is about cultivate relationship with others. Then they need to cultivate relationship with their with their colleagues, which you call it as, I may call it the peer relationship, rebuild this one. And then the fifth one, very interesting thing that they need to do is maybe simultaneously compete with each other for results. Compete at the same time, collaborate. And the sixth one that comes to mind will be they can even cultivate relationship with outsiders. Reason is there is a strong need to look at their relationship from the outside perspective, from the external perspective. That would really be a very, very unique situation for board to take the relationship to a higher level. Failing, yes, but then we can come out stronger in a much better way.
Interesting. Sir, is there a way of getting what we need from this dynamic?
Is there a way of getting what we need from these dynamics? The dynamics of supervisor-subordinate relationship? Definitely yes. Simple. Get the basics right. And if I may have to put it in sequence order, again, number one, let us recognize that this relationship is temporary. The temporariness is real. And I use this real in real time. I'm borrowing from Jack Bohr's 24 season where they talk of real time. In real time, this relationship is real and very temporary. To recognize that the relationship is a two-way process, a two-way traffic, we said that. It's a give and take. And three, that this relationship are exchanges of technical, psychological, and very important, the third element, organization resource. Organization resources have to be shared, put to good use, and see that it strengthens the relationship. And four, classify the need of board. And that classification must be based on age and experience which board have, keeping board these variable factors in mind. And five, recognize that the future needs of each other and maybe even prepare the resources. And six, identify the areas of constraint where, as I mentioned, keep on exchanging resources. And seven, give time to each other, things that can improve, if I may use the word, directionally. The direction in which we move together is very important here. And coming to point number 8, give regular feedback to each other. And 9, of course, ensure that the performance is productive, where it is regularly assessed, activated, maintained, and nurtured. Again, to use my favorite word for the future of the business organization.
Excellent advice, Dr. Buhril. Before we close, would you like to say something or closing remarks on this important topic?
For my concluding remarks, truth be told, for lack of realistic expectations, supervisor-subordinate relationship can fail miserably. Failure to be sensitive to each other's needs can make the relationship disastrously burdensome. Prudent analysis always lead to prudent remedies. One, I believe the supervisor and subordinate can give the support and resources in the same manner in which the person gets it. And two, the relationship can be productive and fruitful only if it is mutually beneficial. And three, both must learn to anticipate and manage change. Changes will happen. That adaptability, skills to changes will have a strong impact on both, and then they can learn so much from that itself. And four, both must make the relationship a learning experience where they are alert for further improvements, they are alert for growth, and maybe progress that is desired from this relationship. And finally, both must set their minds on what they can do for each other, because there is a strong opportunity, a challenging opportunity emerging to make this relationship flourishing very progressively, so where both makes the relationship a win-win.
Thank you so much for your insightful thoughts and expertise, Dr. Buhril. It's been a pleasure to having you with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shabnam Saikia, for having me on the show.
Thank you to our listeners for tuning into this episode of the USTM podcast. Stay tuned for more exciting discussions. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.